Hello everyone. Hello Andy. I could not come to Mujj as my visa got delayed. But hey, I thought I could use some technology to connect and in the entire audience at Mujja conference. First of all, I want to introduce myself. I am Prithviraj Lakkakula. I am a research assistant professor in agribusiness and applied economics department at North Dakota State University, Fargo, North Dakota. So today, the title of my presentation is Fertilizer Price Analysis. So let me go into the presentation right away. First of all, um, the costs related to fertilizer inputs account for approximately a quarter of total input costs of production. So as you may all know, there are three main types of fertilizers: nitrogen, which is a mobile fertilizer, and phosphorus and potash, which are considered as immobile fertilizers. So I'm using this terminology mobile and immobile in the sense that if you apply more nitrogen than the requirement, the crop could not use it, and the excess nitrogen lakes could end up in lakes or could be leached into groundwater. But if you take phosphorus and potash, they are immobile because even though if you apply more than the requirement, they can stay in the soil, and the next crop could use the excess phosphorus and potash. So in that sense, I'm using this terminology mobile and immobile for nitrogen and phosphorus and potash respectively. So in this study I will identify causal interrelationships among different fertilizer prices. Primarily, I will consider 5 main fertilizer prices. I use vector autoregression and Wald test and resampling techniques to achieve this objective of finding the causal interrelationships among fertilizer prices. Review. So there are not many studies on price analysis or movements on fertilizer prices. Most studies focused on a specific policy issue or a specific fertilizer. For example, Pickett's et al. In 1991, in which Andy was also a co-author, studied the welfare analysis of potash dispute at that point of time between the United States and Canada. So other studies that are mentioned here are all methodological studies where they used vector autoregression model, Wald test to study Granger causal relationships in different fields such as tourism, etc. Before proceeding, I want to define the term causality here. There are different ways of defining causality according to different schools of thought. But here the definition of causality is given by Clive Granger in 1979. According to Clive Granger, if we could use the past values of price A to predict price B, then we can consider that price A Granger causes price B. Price analysis consists of carrying out the following steps, as I mentioned here, using vector autoregression, asymptotic Wald tests, and bootstrap techniques. So the first step here is the order of integration for each price series, and we represent this order of integration as M here, as M. So in the first step here, all we are doing is to estimate how many differences are needed in order to make the price series stationary. So we consider that order of integration as M. Second step is the most important one, selecting the appropriate number of lags. There are different methods of choosing appropriate number of lags. The first, using various information criterion such as Akaike information criteria AIC and Bayesian information criteria BIC. Second is to select the lags after conducting and satisfying various misspecification tests, including serial correlation test, normality test, ARCH test, that is autoregressive conditional heteroscedasticity test, on residuals of estimated vector auto-regression model with specific lags. So here we represent the appropriate number of lags as p. So coming to the third step here, I also tested for using tested for co-integration using Johansson's test, even though I do not present those results here in this study. Finally, in the fourth step, we estimate the vector auto-regression model and the VALD test using p plus m lags. So it is p is the appropriate number of lags plus m order of integration that you need to add to estimate asymptotic VALD test. I'll estimate the bootstrap techniques using 1000 bootstrap iterations. Basically, this step involves conducting asymptotic VALD test using 1000 bootstrap iterations. So in this, we jointly test the beta coefficients using variance covariance matrix and other restrictions. So in this, using 1000 bootstrap iterations, we basically find bootstrap standard errors and associated p-values. So the hypothesis tests. So here I consider 5 main fertilizer prices, including urea, muriate of potash, diammonium phosphate, triple super phosphate, and finally rock phosphate. So in total we have 20 combinations. That is, each price has 4 pairs and there are 5 prices and hence 20 combinations. Hypothesis testing involves the following. For example, if we consider urea and muriate of potash vector auto-regression equation, if you take an example for urea equation, the null hypothesis is muriate of potash price does not Granger cause urea price. Alternatively, the alternate hypothesis involves muriate of potash price Granger causes urea price. This is just an example for one equation here. So coming to data, I collected the fertilizer prices from World Bank database, as you can see here on this slide. All prices are measured in US dollars per metric ton. All prices are free on board prices collected at various origins. For example, muriate of potash price is a standard grade free on board collected at Vancouver. So the time period in consideration is it's basically monthly data ranging from March 2008 to March 2016, accounting for a total of 97 observations. So this is the violin graph representing the data that I mentioned in the earlier slide. So here we have a violin graph along with the box plot overlaid in it for all fertilizer 5 fertilizer prices. Here x-axis represents fertilizer type, while y-axis contains price measured in US dollars per metric ton. Violin graph is nothing but a sideways representation of density plots. These violin graphs are nice way to represent a median, maximum, minimum, and as you all know, the box plots are best explained in way of quartiles that we represent here. So this part is, for example, if you take diammonium phosphate, this entire part is the first quartile, and this part is second quartile, and this part is third quartile, and the entire this part is fourth quartile. So if you compare all the prices here, the DAP, the median of DAP price, that is diammonium phosphate price, is the highest, and the lowest median price of all fertilizer price is rock phosphates price. And if you see, for each fertilizer price you have certain sort of outliers. These are I think these are the prices that are recorded or measured during 2008, the period 2008, where we have very highest peaks of prices. It's similar to commodity price crisis that we had. And here I present the results in this table. So let me adjust this. Yeah. So I tested 20 different hypotheses, as I mentioned earlier. This table shows the results of two tests. Here the basically we have p values of two tests. This p value, this column, the p values of this column is asymptotic val test, and the other column here, the p values, is bootstrap val test. And here we have a null hypothesis with for all the 20 combinations. If you take an example here, let's say if you take an example of the number one hypothesis here, yeah, this part here is basically the null hypothesis, which shows that the muriate of potash price does not Granger cause urea price. And similarly here we have another hypothesis for this one, urea price does not Granger cause muriate of potash price. Similarly we have the same interpretation for all other combinations here. Here we have the p values that are significant at 5% level, and all the significant p values are represented or highlighted in red color here. So the basic interpretation is, here if you take this example, the p value is 0.002 in case of asymptotic val test, and the p value is 0.018 in case of bootstrap val test, which is significant at least 5% level. So here the interpretation is, so if the p value is less than 0.05, then we reject the null hypothesis. So in the highlighted part here, as the p value is less than 0.05, then we reject the hypothesis that urea price does not Granger cause muriate of potash price. So which indirectly means that urea price indeed causes muriate of potash price. So similarly we have we reject the hypothesis of urea price does not Granger cause rock phosphate price. These are the same results in earlier slide, but are shown in graphical fashion. In this, an arrow from price A to price B indicates that price A causes price B. For example, the arrow from urea price to diammonium phosphate price, this arrow, this basically says that urea price is causing diammonium phosphate price. In this diagram, if you can see, there is an arrow directing from urea price to each of the other prices, all other prices actually. So this is one of the important takeaway conclusions. Here I was looking at identifying the causal interrelationships among different price pairs, fertilizer price pairs. The important takeaway is this here. The urea price, which I found to be the main driver of all other fertilizer prices considered in this study. By the way, this result is also the industry considers urea price as a reference price as well. So this is this result also validates the industry perspective. The other unidirectional relationships are triple superphosphate causing rock phosphate price as well as muriate of potash price, and similarly rock phosphate price causing muriate of potash price, and finally diammonium phosphate price causing triple superphosphate price. Other bidirectional relationships are also found. So muriate of potash price and diammonium phosphate prices, they cause each other, and similarly diammonium phosphate price and rock phosphate price also cause each other. These are the two bidirectional relationships that I found from this study. Thank you all for listening to my presentation patiently, and hopefully next time if I get an opportunity, I'll be there in Moose Jaw. And thank you, Andy, and goodbye.